What's going on, folks? Welcome. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Thank you guys for being here, and I hope you're all doing well. What is going on, Jay? Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Okay, we're gonna do more Gaea today. I don't have a specific plan of what we're gonna do, but I do know what we're gonna try and figure out. We're going to try and figure out a quick way to do foreground. But let's have a look. Well, I made an image right after the stream yesterday, and I wish I had just left the stream going because it took like 25 minutes. And I think it was kind of fun. So let's take a quick look at that, and then we'll look at the issue that I'm trying to solve in Gaea, which I don't know that we can do, but I'm going to hopefully be able to do. Fingers crossed. And then we're going to play around in Gaea and see if we can get it to happen and maybe make an image. Who knows? We'll see how far we get. Milan, what's going on, buddy? Cheers. Welcome. Okay, so let's see here. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Looks like you can. So this was the image that I made, and literally all I did was I put some blocks up. Actually, we can fire up the renderer. That is that's quite epic. This little playlist that's playing right now. I'm gonna tell me if that's distracting or not to you guys. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit in my headphones because I can barely hear myself think as it normally is. Nitin, what's going on, man? And thank you. I'm glad you dug it. We're going to take a quick look at how we made that, and then we're going to try and solve this foreground issue. And it's the one that we kind of talked about towards the end of yesterday, which is that it'd be really nice if I could make like a big terrain that's kind of fitting of the whole scene, and then without having to rebuild from scratch a foreground piece that would work, get a foreground piece. So this was the raw render from the not the cover image. The cover image, I moved the camera a little bit just like 20 minutes ago. But the story that I put up the other day. And pretty simple as far as how I did it. We have these big giant boxes with a black material, just casting the foreground into some kind of shadow, blocking out some ambient light. I moved the light over to the side. Lessened the fog overall, and then also added, you should be able to see this. We also have this box in here, which is just playing, like very lightly doing some kind of like low-lying fog or mist. This is where I really wish that F-Storm supported VDBs. And it doesn't. But so this was the idea, and then I quickly photoshopped it, doing nothing you guys haven't seen me do before. But you can see, even at, this image is 2,000 pixels tall, right? That's never gonna make it as far as resolution goes. And I think that even if 16K starts working, we need more than twice the resolution in this foreground to make it work, right? And Oleg, what's going on, man? Welcome. The image that I made previously with this guy, with Gaea, for this one we made two different terrains, which I opened very briefly. This was the quick terrain that I made. God, I mean, like, why does it rotate around the corner? If they just shifted that to the middle, it would be so much more pleasant to rotate things around. Anyways, we made this terrain, which is what is being used and copied a couple times and rotated in the background. And then from scratch, I made this guy, which like kind of clearly has a different scale to it. But I did this all by eye. I don't know if we walked through this one previously, as far as how I made it. But we'll take a kind of a brief look at it, which is we started with like a gradient that then we kind of mashed into shape here. We started breaking that up into all of these little elements, and we're very much kind of like generating the more foreground scaled elements. It's not using the actual scale sliders inside of all of the different nodes. It's actually generating a decent amount of geometry before we get to erosion, and now it starts looking like something. And then honestly, everything in here is kind of a mess. I don't know that there's too much to learn from it, except for the methodology, because like now it looks kind of out of scale again. At some point, still out of scale. What? Oh, that one kind of helped. This recurve kind of helped, I feel like, the scale. I'm going to keep that in mind for today. Ooh, and whatever's going on down here is helping. Interesting. So this combined node is mixing that, which is like a breaks category, with this guy. And that's where it starts to feel like foreground to me. All those nodes later, and I'm sure it doesn't take that incredibly long to do, as it did for me, if you know what you're doing. I still don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out. So anyway, so then we ended up with, you know, something like this that then, you know, we could color with this guy. So then we have some foreground rocks. But the two processes for the foreground and the background were completely separated, which isn't the end of the world, especially being that I think we could generate some other ones. Where's that seed thing? And if one or more nodes are selected, if none are selected, then all the nodes will be mutated. Let's see what that gives us. Yes. So this is just going through and replacing all of the random seeds. And it should, I think, in my head, give us a similar but different end result. Which is cool, because once you make one, then you could generate a bunch of different ones, and you could use that to vary things up, especially if you were thoughtful about it. It's pretty similar, but you can see that it's a little bit different. Maybe this isn't the best example. Let's try that again. I'm still kind of thinking through how we're going to go about today. I do have one thing that I found that was really promising that I couldn't get to actually do it. Let's see what happens if we change this one's random seeds. Yes. So if you have to do two completely separate, a foreground and a background, that's not the end of the world. But it would be really great if you spend all this time making this big, beautiful kind of backdrop that sets the overall mood for the scene. If you could just take a piece of it, like a small little, like 1/30th or 20th of the whole scene, and just say, make this 8K. That would be the hope and the goal, and then you'd have most of your texturing work and everything else there. I don't know what, this doesn't seem to be doing anything. Maybe. I don't know why that didn't update. But let's see what happens if we just manually change the first one. And let it work through its thing, and we'll see. Knitting kind of like LODs, but I think for anything that's going to be close to the foreground, Oh, and there we go. A completely different mountain range just by clicking one different thing. So, like I said, not the end of the world if it's two, but it would be nice if you didn't have to make both of them. You could just create one that kind of set the overall mood. The reason I'm not thinking of this LODs is that if we want to be like close in to like this hill here, the level of detail that you would need in this mesh would be up in like the 3264K range, I think. Especially if you're doing it at like 5K or something like that. And so, similar to LODs in the sense of like I want things closer to the camera to be higher resolution, obviously. But what I really want is like inside of this to export this whole thing at 8K, and then to take like, let's say this little chunk. Maybe I know I want to put the character somewhere down here in an image. I just want this little chunk to then be that whole thing up to 16K, not like the whole mesh to get denser, right? At some point, the computers are going to start breaking. So that is kind of where I currently stand. There's still, I think, I still don't feel like I can control the program fully. And definitely when it comes to the, I'm still very much struggling with the coloring and texturing of these things. But as of right now, the biggest issue that I'm finding is that something like this, I didn't want to have this be like fully in the black and shadow. But, you know, that looks like garbage. And then one thing I did find, just as long as we're kind of recapping things, I did find what was it called? It was on Medium, and it was written by Dax, the creator. Let's see if it just comes up. Medium, the making of Gaia's hero image. So this is Dax, who's literally making Quadspinner, and I saw this and I said, oh, there's a way to do it. We gotta, like, that's what I want to be able to create and have it match everything. And then further down, you realize that that's from Megascans. So we might be chasing something that's not going to be able to happen if the creator of Gaia is not using it for the foreground. Maybe we're trying to push it too far, but we're gonna see what's going on. And Nicholas, I don't know if I said hello to you. If I didn't, hello. Okay, so let's close this. Let's close this. We can leave Max open for now. We're still back in this scene. Do we want to change this? No, let's just keep going with this one. I think this is good. I feel like if I took like a mountain, just like a plain mountain, so we didn't have as complex of a setup, I feel like that would be relatively easy to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. Though maybe that makes it a good test case. This is what happens when you figure things out on stream, but that's okay. Actually, let's do that. Let's. The goal, if you can do it with just a plain mountain shape, that's great. But really, the idea would be like, I want something that would match this. Obviously, we're only at 1K, so ignore all of the pixelation. But I want a foreground element that would match this environment, which is a complex one. That's the end goal. But let's see what we can do with a mountain first. Like just a simple node setup. And then we'll see if we can apply it here, because otherwise we're just going to be doing a lot of waiting. So let's open a new Gaia. So we'll make a new terrain today. New project. Okay. I did see it looks like they have a separate sculpt tool option, which is pretty wild. As far as like if I want this mountain to have a very specific shape. Okay, so bada bing, bada boom. We got a cool mountain, and it kind of already started pretty cool. Should we just start with that? Let's maybe just start with like as simple as you can go. It'll keep the times, the calculating times nice and low for us while still being able to work at 2K. So like let's say we're going to do a shot that's, you know, something like this. We can't actually orbit up the you can't look up. Oh, God, please fix this UI and navigation. But let's say we had an image that we're going to have it, you know, looking up at something, and we wanted just like some similar matching foreground stuff. I did find this node called transform, which one would think does exactly what you want it to. So we can take it, and if we go smaller in scale, it just collapses it down. Pretty awesome. And what we would want to do is we'd want to go bigger in scale. Right, so that's bigger. That's kind of right in the right direction. Let's go up to 400%. Right, so that we'd have the equivalent of going from 8K, then it would be similar for that to be at like 32K for that one little section. We definitely get a lot of this clipping, which I noticed when I was experimenting with this before. Just as a heads up, I was experimenting with this before, and I didn't get it to work. But I only played with it for like half an hour, so we'll see. More experience over here. We'll see what happens. So it did end up kind of hitting this element, or this problem, which was that it's clipping in the bounds of that Gaea is willing to work in. And for whatever reason, it doesn't actually, it gives you an option to scale things differently in X and Y, but not in how vertically it's getting shifted. But we can fix that with a bias gain before we go into the transform. And what we want, ooh, whoa, 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 whoa. You want to see this one? Oh, God, this is just, I mean, like, I can't get back to this no matter what, like, what the, can we just get we just need to get, I guess, you still, okay, we're going to try not to move the viewport. It's so frustrating. Knitting. I love that idea. It is possible. It's not quick. I've been playing around with some video editing stuff still, and I haven't gotten you guys some things that I've been trying to get to you. I still want to. Video editing, it turns out, is like its whole own thing. Who knew? I once I get to a point where I feel like I have a workflow, and I'm not just like, well, I did a bunch of things and it ended up looking cool, which is kind of where I'm at right now. I could definitely put something together. But I want to feel like I have my own, I'm still like testing things to see if they work better. I don't feel like I have it figured out, which is what you guys are on the ride with today. Okay, so bias, I always kind of I really hate how these things are named. That seemed to do what I wanted it to, and I think we can just hit the drop to the floor button down here. And I think that that's just taking a mountain that's taller and shrinking it down. We're going to shrink it down even more. Righto. Okay, now let's transform this guy. And see if it's still clipping at the top. Which it is not. Okay. And it looks like I can't tell exactly which part of this terrain it's grabbing. But it doesn't really matter. That's working better. Now you can see it didn't, when it scaled it up, it basically just took that map from before. And this is we're about as far as I got after playing with it after the stream yesterday. It took the map that was driving the displacement at bias gain level, and it scaled it up from, you know, what did we say, 400%. And just like if you blow up an image in Photoshop, it didn't add any detail in, which is what the hope would have been. The hope would be that it would add in detail here. And instead, it just scaled it up. So now all of these, what used to be a nice detail down at this level, it's now just a blurred, you know, hole. And that's, you know, not that fine here, but you can see it's just, we're basically making it worse. So we're going to need to add all that detail back in. I'm thinking through, what I'm thinking through right now is we could take this transform all the way back to the first mountain level and scale it here, because erosion's what adds a lot of this detail in. But there's two problems with that. The erosion will still be at this scale, which is the wrong scale. And thinking about how I want to use this, which is having a complex shader tree, or node tree, excuse me, and then scaling just a piece of it. If the transform's at the beginning, then you're going to have that problem for every node. So we're going to try and keep the transform at the end. Or not the end, but we're going to try and, I guess, add back in detail. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll try and add back in detail. I hope that made sense. If anything, that I'm trying to think and talk at the same time. So if I start mumbling or stop making any sense, please let me know, and feel free to ask any questions you might have. And if I have an answer, I will tell you. If I don't, I will tell you that as well. Okay, so let's what's the best way to add detail? There's the displace tool, which is always a little strange to me. And before I start messing with the settings here, I'm gonna have a look at what it looks like in 4K. We're still pretty early. This shouldn't take more than, maybe 40-50 seconds to calculate, hopefully. Probably shouldn't have said that. I think that might have been jinxing myself. But because we're going for high res, looking at it in 2K it's tough. It's a challenge. Let's see what we get here. And here you can get an idea of why working at 4K is impossible currently. And I also feel like it's an optimization thing. Come here. Right, we're only using 10% of my CPU. 9%. And judging by how the bakes happen, this is a CPU process. So theoretically, at least on my machine, this could be going 10 times faster. The GPU is sitting at 60. It wouldn't make any sense, right? Do we have anybody that knows how software works in the chat? My understanding of it's very, very, very loose. But it wouldn't make any sense for this to be getting computed in the GPU and then at build time being CPU, right? Where is Chop when you need him? Chop would have a quick answer for this. But my gut is based off the fact that there's very few renderers that use both CPU and GPU, and it seems like a giant hassle to do. It doesn't seem like it would make much sense for this to be getting calculated right now with the GPU, and then when I press build, the CPU computes it. But even so, both of my 2080s, which are not plugged into my monitors, are not being used right now. My CPU's at 10%. So maybe it's not so much optimization, it's just getting it, utilizing everything. Because yeah, this thing's still, it's stuck on this transform. We're gonna let it build now. While this is building, there is a thing. This is kind of interesting, I think, and worth, I think, noting. You can see that it's been working here on this transform node, which seems like it should be pretty simple. It's just taking one map and scaling it up, but it's been stuck here this whole time. And you get a build log. It's the same little, little whatever it is, command line terminal that you kind of see when you actually press build, and it shows you how long everything takes, like 13 seconds, 2 seconds. Generally speaking, you have a couple, like this shatter took almost a minute. You always have a couple that are way longer, fractions of a second. Protrusion, which is a map, was over a minute. It's probably worth knowing which ones take a lot of time to do, or at least kind of have a feeling for it. Because yeah, we're still waiting on old transform. Yeah, knitting, but like for that, for like if you're rendering like V-Ray, right, in CPU, the denoising happens. It's not part of the rendering, right? Like it takes a rendered frame and then apply and all the other elements and everything else, and then sends a different task to the GPU, the denoising task. Here, it really this doesn't make any sense to me that my CPU's barely working. Um, my GPU's working, and I can't think of any other reason why it would be working other than this. OBS tends to be pretty light as far as like what's actually streaming to you guys. We'll see. We'll see here in a second. Presumably, as soon as this finishes, GPU will drop, and then we can get back to work. We haven't gotten very far in the first 25 minutes of this, which I apologize for. But this is whenever I'm trying to figure stuff out, it tends to be a lot of stuff like this. Whilst I'm doing something new, because obviously looking at this in 4K is not really a viable option from here on out. But it's nice to understand why it's not. Right, and right now it seems like a specific node. Like if we were looking at the erosion or bias gain and transform and displace weren't here, we'd already be done. We'd have been done literally minutes ago. I feel like it helps inform better decisions in the future as opposed to just saying 4K is never an option. But this is taking really long. And I wonder why. Transform seems like it should have been the quickest out of this entire chain. Transform feels like it should have been the quickest. But it is most definitely not. Okay, so I do really want to see what this looks like in 4K right now. And the big reason is actually seeing what this transform looks like at a higher resolution. I'm pretty sure it's going to be more of the same, but I'd like to confirm that. There's kind of a thought in my head that's like, okay, if Transform's taking this long, it's got to be doing more than just blowing up that map, right? Scaling that map by 400% and then just taking the, 4K section in the middle. This is bonkers. I don't even know if we can, oh, we can change it whilst it's going. Well, I don't think we can sit here and look at this any longer. This is insane. The whole idea of doing a simple mountain was to avoid this problem and to be able to look at things in detail. But I feel like this would have built this mesh in lesser times. Okay, yeah, we're abandoning it. My patience... I'm not a patient man. I've never been called patient. Ooh, knitting. Yeah, time for a discrete GPU, for sure. They're getting cheap, too, because, like, if you have an integrated one, even upgrading to, like, a 1650 or 60 or whatever the number is in, like, the mid-tier would be a huge improvement for you. And then, like, everything except for the 2080 Ti seem to be getting cheaper and cheaper as we approach the 30 series. Yeah, I have no idea what's happened here. Okay, back to 2K. Back to 2K. That's all we can do. Let's wait. And now we get to wait. And let's see if it sticks on transform for an unseemly alert. No. See, it cooked right through transform on that one. I don't have an answer for you, but we're just going to keep on moving. Okay, let's see. One of the things I noticed, I'm constantly hovering over these things to see what the options are here. And actually, I think I'm going to get rid of displace at the moment. And I'm going to try either recurve or shaper. In an older version of Gaea, like it had a little label for what the nodes were, what the inputs and outputs were, and they got rid of it. I guess to make it look better, but harder to use. I don't know. Okay, so recurve. I don't fully understand this guy, but it always seems to kind of do some cool stuff. Ooh, music we ran out. Let's put some tunes back on. What tunes do we want to play? Oh, guys, I came across... Where is Spotify? I came across this gamer dude who also is putting out like a whole bunch of music. His name's Harris Heller. And he put out like, he has like 7 hours. How long? 5 hours of free, like, kind of lo-fi stuff. We'll just put him on random. For now. And then you guys can let me know what you think. Okay. Okay, we are having some technical challenges on this. So this is kind of filling in the bubbles. I want it to go the opposite way. Maybe I want to click the inflate button. Ooh, that is interesting. But it is not what I am trying to do. So we're going to delete that, and we are going to pull in, let's try Shaper. Whoa. That's not what I expected to have happen. Let's turn on local effect. That is nutso. Maybe I was thinking of a different tool. Shaper. Shaper bulks up or bulks down a terrain while optionally retaining finer details. Let's see what that does. So this is where we started. And it does feel to me, as much as it pains me, I think we need to go higher. How much can we transform this? Oh, only up to 500%. Still feels like too like mid-groundy of a scale. So I think we're just gonna have, I to some degree, like you can see the pixelation in this, and that's not from the map. Right, we could add a blur into this. Just like a super soft blur. Right, there's enough detail in this map as far as like resolution goes for it to be smooth. That's just how it's getting transformed up. So I guess that answers my question that I wanted to have answered in 4K. And I guess, I don't know. That's a disappointing node. It'd be nice if it was a smarter node. So it could scale something up and add detail. based off of the topography. And I think that kind of answers my question of being able to like grab one section and make it bigger. I don't think that that's currently going to be possible. I think you can kind of like pinch things with this node. I don't think that that's helping us at all. Let's see, what else can we find? I want something. What was the node that we used before? It was either like shatter, maybe. I want something that's going to kind of give us some like large scale detail to this thing. And I don't know what the answer is. If any of you guys know Gaea at all and you have any suggestions, let me know. Because otherwise we're just going to continue playing. Oh, so much waiting. Maybe we need to go down to 1K until we get like a shape that we like. Oh wait, no, that was done. Oh, lordy, lordy. I kind of like that feature scale. So this is, let's see what happens. Let's go to the maximum. And I think scale, usually if you go higher in scale, it shows more land, kind of. Do I have to hit apply changes? I do. Oh, I also found next to this apply changes, there's a little lock button, which if you lock it, it locks it to continually updating changes. Okay, so that's at 8,000. And then I think if we go all the way down to 250, I think it's gonna look more foregroundish. Nope, I'd say other way. I'd say other way around. That feels more, I think, distant than... Oops. 8,000, let's see what we get. It doesn't feel like a huge scalar difference, does it? Even though that's what it's saying. But I guess that does feel closer to the ground. Okay, well, let's go with that maybe. Add a breaker node in. At this point, you know, if I'm being honest with you guys, I'm just kind of throwing in things that I've used before and kind of liked and seeing what I get. Now the breaker node, this is where we got some of that really bad geometry in the other scene. And obviously like this gives an idea of scale, right? Because these all look like rivers. And I wonder if we can use this more intelligently. I don't have anything that's like actual quote unquote scale here. Duration's just gonna make it more of them, I believe. Duration's like how long I think like the rain's been falling that's causing these things. I don't really know. It's this whole thing is poorly labeled, and we're gonna go down to 1K because I'm getting sick of waiting, to be 100% honest. I will say like this is like where, especially in this kind of like, I know the effect I am after. I'm not sure how to get it. This is like very much where World Creator's been really nice playing with, is that these types of things happen very, very snappy. And I don't know if it's because they're quote unquote simpler algorithms, or just it's better utilizing your machine, or it's more optimized in the actual code itself. But like here, we're just waiting, and we're at 1K of a map in World Creator. I was regularly working at 4K. So points for World Creator. Like, we're still waiting on this guy. I mean, like, that took forever to show us, like, no, that doesn't help us at all. Except for maybe now we need to turn down erosion power. What is it waiting for now? We didn't change anything. It popped up the CPU at some point. Okay, so erosion power, let's turn that way down and see how long we have to wait on that. For any of you guys that are trying to decide whether you want to try Gaea or World Creator, if you go with Gaea, you're going to be dealing with a lot of this kind of like sitting and waiting. We're working at 1K right now, and this is how long we have to wait for these things. Okay, Breaker, you're going away. Let's see here. What else can we try? Breaker wasn't the answer. Shatter was, you know, Shatter helps. Shatter at least added in a bunch of detail for us. Create sheer rocks. I don't think I've used this yet. No, I think that's more for cliffs. That gives me a cliffy feel right from the get-go. Micro erosion. Let's see what that gives us. So if this is one of those things, like, did that give us a whole ton of detail and we just can't see it because it's at 1K? I don't know. And there's only one way I can think of to check it, which is to go up to at least 2K. And see what we were looking at here. And you can see it's thinking back through this chain. I wonder if I have a performance setting somewhere that I need to change. Preferences. No, connection style, navigate. I don't see anything. Got a big old giant cache. I don't know what it is. OLED, yes, it does, and it seems. I wonder. I'm like more frustrated with it, like right now as we're speaking. I'm more frustrated with it than I've been this entire time. I wonder if it's because I have 2 instances of it open. Let's save this, and let's just save it to the Gaea folder that I was using before, and we'll call this Mountain Detail. So we can find it again. Let's close it. Let's close this one. Do I want to change? No, I don't think I want to save anything with that. Yeah, Oleg, you're totally right. Let's see what happens. Let's also take a look at what the computer's doing right now. Okay, GPU sitting at 6% and CPU sitting at 2%. Mountain Detail, let's open it back up. I've not typically been working with 2 versions of it's open. I wonder if that was causing any issues, maybe? We're seeing some bigger spikes. I'm gonna move this over here so I can just keep an eye on it all together out of curiosity. So that just rebuilt this whole thing, and let's see what happens if we change something in this micro erosion setting. Now I want like some like big rock-esque things in here, but I think I'm kind of giving up on the idea that we're gonna be able to like generate the thing that we want if that's not obvious and if I haven't said it. I think we're just gonna have to make 2 all of the time, which is fine, but it would also be nice if you didn't have to generate it the way I did the last time, which is like, you know, gradients and steps and everything else. Be nice. We'll see what we can do. But let's see what kind of calculation times we're getting here. Move up iterations. Let's change the strength. Well, I mean, Okay, so I don't know if that was the issue from before of having two Gaias open, but it might be. Heads up, if it gets super duper. Oh, let's should we just take a quick look and see? Let's just see out of curiosity what happens if we click 4K here, because if it kind of like boop boop boop, you know, within a minute, then we've learned something important, which is that Gaia doesn't like having two instances of it open. Yeah, Oleg, thank you. Didn't even think to try it. I can't remember. It seems a little strange if that is the issue, but I do want to see what we get here. And I'm not necessarily going to wait for this to build the entire thing. Because, yeah, it's just creeping on this transform again. Do I have... What else do I have open? Oh, I have... that's not taking up any resources. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's still just never going to be as snappy as World Creator. And it looks like we're in the same situation where it's just still sitting here trying to figure out this transform. It does not like this transform node at all. Maybe we just get rid of it. Nit, and I'm waiting. Today's been a waiting kind of day. I mean, how long have we been going here? We've been going here for 45 minutes of waiting today, guys. But we've learned one valuable thing. And that is, don't make plans for after your Gaia session. Because who knows when you'll be finished that thing. Yeah, so this has not been a cure-all by any means, and we're just going to go ahead and go back down to 2K, and we're going to work there for a minute and just not even sit here and wait on this transform. I mean, transform still takes a while on 2K. That seems like a mistake in the coding. So I guess this is just the resolution that we're going to be working at least until we hit build. I think old Dax needs to do a little refinement on this guy. What? I have no idea why this bar is sitting there at half done. I don't know. I have no idea what that suggests. And I haven't fully even been able to figure out the blue and the yellow bars. Because the blue bar looks like it should be the overall piece. Like, it's still doing something, even though I can change stuff right now. We need labels. I would like to know what it's doing right now. Current allocated memory. It's only using 2 gigs of memory. Oh, this is kind of an interesting. Down here, if you click on build time, you get a update. This big one over here is the transform. Micro erosion. Mountain shatter. Erosion itself is pretty fast. Huh. Very strange. And I don't know what they're saying 31 seconds. Like, it's not done building whatever we're trying to see. At 2K. Since we're ready, I had yesterday an iPad for sculpting, cutting zebras, but of course simpler. Seems pretty cool. It's called Forger. Sculpting on an iPad. Also, Oleg, thank you for giving me something to talk about while we wait here. And I just want to see. I'm curious to see what happens when this thing We're gonna leave a little bit of that screen open so that we can see it. Close that guy. iPad Forger. That would be. Is it? And then can you export an OBJ? Can you get it into like Max or Blender or Maya or something? I'm assuming you can. Otherwise, what would be the point? Let's go to their page. Let's have a look-sees. Well, I don't think anybody needs to worry about physically based rendering on their iPad, though. I mean, the fact that they can do it's impressive. But the sculpting looks pretty good. I want to learn more. I'd like a demo. Performance beast, pressure sensitivity. Oh, they have a YouTube. Let's go look at their YouTube. While this is still doing something. 31 seconds, my ass. I mean, maybe we need to build out the whole entire system. Or build out. Restart the entire computer for some reason. Oh, wait. Is that done now? What changed? I mean, I saw nothing change there except for the blue bar. Was it continuing to build out 4K in the background? No, it's rebuilding that from the start. So here's another thing I don't understand, which I would love to have an answer for. You can see up here, we have a little yellow bar. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see it or not. We have a little yellow bar that's like processes, I guess. I don't know. Like it goes for when you get to something like erosion that I guess has multiple things it needs to go through, it pops up. But then it goes through a bunch of times while the blue bar kind of stays the same. And then now for transform, you can see the blue bar is going crazy. Which it wasn't doing before. I don't know. Maybe it's just this transform node is buggy. That might be the entire problem of this thing, is that the transform node just doesn't work well. And so it's affecting everything because it's early in the chain as opposed to the end of the chain. Let's I mean, clearly this is untenable. I don't know if it's coming through this blinking, flickering nonsense. We are going to get out of this, I think, is what we're going to do. Let's just let's go back. That's not even yeah, sure, why not save it? Go nuts. Let's have a look-see at that. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed, Oleg, that this is happening on an iPad. He's going through and he's smoothing that. Like, this is pretty high res, huh? Where does this thing end up at? That looks nice. What is Nitin saying? I tried Sidecar, and you can use ZBrush on your iPad too. Who knew, guys? Well, apparently you guys did. I definitely didn't. Maybe I need to play with these. Michaela, what's going on? Welcome. Welcome. And how is the matte paint competition going? If I can find the time, I'm going to try and do an image for that. We were talking about it earlier, yesterday or 2 days ago. Who knows when? You know how I am with time. This looks really cool. It looks like a fun thing to have on the iPad. I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna check out what's the other one? Sidecar and ZBrush on there. Though I mean, ZBrush probably just kept through and kept the same nonsense that bothers us all on PC for those of us that don't use it everywhere. Super Chia? Oh god, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Super cheap as well. Oh, I thought Super Chia was another sculpting software. Let's have a look here, guys. 2 nodes. 2K. It should go dink dink. Still takes longer than I feel like it should, but should we just see how long it's like for reference? We kind of gotten sidetracked. We have not achieved really anything that we've been trying to do today, Michaela, except for like figuring out what Gaea does and doesn't like. It does not like the transform node. That seems to be a bug. I just clicked this guy into 4K. That's curiosity. Let's just get a baseline. We got 2 nodes, like the most common of the nodes that people use in Gaea. And it's done. So that's how long it takes to get to 4K. We spent it, Michaela, to catch you up, we spent most of today wondering why Gaea won't do what I'm asking it to. Okay, so I think maybe the 2 instance thing was a problem, though it wasn't a problem before when I was like showing you guys through things. I think the bigger issue, I think the transform node, which kind of almost could possibly do what I want it to do, I think that's the issue. I think that's buggy. That is my hunch. You know what we're gonna do real quick? I haven't played with World Creator. We're not gonna make any at this point. We're an hour into this thing, and we've opened effectively Gaea, besides talking about some other stuff. So we're not even trying to make anything. I feel like we've answered a few questions. Transform node, I'm gonna say that guy's out, at least until the Gaea gets updated. I've not gone back to World Creator to find or to like do more research. The one thing that I want it to be able to do, which is give me this mesh in low res and then a displacement map built for that size mesh. But I will say this, and we're gonna see just how badly I don't understand this. Let's take this bad boy up to what are we at right now? We're at 248. And so now we're at effectively 4096 here in a second. Let's go all the way up and look at this thing. This thing is giving me generation time in milliseconds. Let's add a filter to it. Add a layer. So this is like the speed that you get feedback in and we're looking at this in at least 4K. What did I just say that we were at? 4K or 8K. I mean, this is kind of like a nice breath of fresh air. Seeing, okay, now we have like the first pause. I don't know what I did to make it pause, but Dunes wanted to think here. And we might have crashed it. Working in 8K is not, I don't think, recommended. But even at 8K, at least for a minute there, we were just clicking around happy as can be. Now we got to wait till this orange bar in the bottom right finishes. Guys, I will report back on this. I'm going to have a restart after this thing's over. We have a decent number of applications open. We're in the tens of thousands of milliseconds at this point. What's millisecond? 1,000th of a second? Probably. Yeah, so we're coming up in like a minute for this one. A minute on whatever I clicked. I clicked level strengths somewhere on Dunes and it got very upset. It also was level strength step 12, which the higher numbered level strengths in World Creator are like the finer details. Well, I should have just done this, quit it and reopened it. But now we're in for the long haul. Let's just see what we get here. it done? Oh, it's done now. I mean, it doesn't really give us anything. Let's go back. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back to our base. So yeah, that was working in... that was working at 8K. So here we're at 4K now. And here's like one of the nice little things is that we can go and we can change the resolution of this. It has built into it the thing that I was looking for at the beginning. So you could go, if you had a map that was all how you wanted it, 512 will give you that corner, and then you can just change that resolution. So now we're down to 1024, so then you can just change the resolution up to 1/8, right? And so now this one little chunk's at 4K or 8K or whatever you want it to be. But let's go back to the default, and let's go back to half, which now we're at 4K. So now we're working in 4K. And let's see. We're going to stay away from sand dunes as quickly as we can. So that looks terrible. General strength, let's turn it down. Basic erosion. Oh, there's some erosion. We got to turn down the sun strength somehow. Areas, scene. Details and Viros. Time of day. Sun size, sun intensity. Yeah, whatever. It's just going to be blown out. That's what we're going to have for now. Advanced erosion. So let's add and close. Let's add another layer. This is where it gets so like so kind of conflicting, right? Like if Gaea was this snappy, I would be so happy and excited. Because like this doesn't look very convincing to me, and obviously I'm just clicking around. Terrace. Let's terrace this bad boy. We have a Minecraft filter. Terrace smooth. That doesn't seem to be terrace cliffs. But like besides that one little mess up where I started to mess with things in 8K, we're just clomping through things here. And let's see, general sex span, final go outside terrace size. Let's just turn that up. Oh, like I totally agree with you. Like, besides the snappiness, like I'm very not like just clicking around. It's the snappiness that's giving me a lot of satisfaction. Not like the way that things are working. I hope that they do nodes, and I hope that they give us some better texturing options. But like. Let's see what happens here. 512. So you can see we now have a map we can probably go lower. Can we type in an answer? Let's go down to like 128. Okay, so now we have this tiny little chunk of land. And now let's see. So right now this map's only 256, so we can go to like 1/16th. That brings us up to 248. So let's go all the way up to 1/64th. So this is now an 8K. Let's see what this gives us. I definitely feel it getting laggier. I mean, it doesn't really give us the results that I was hoping for. But let's be honest, I just clicked around and added a couple of things randomly without refining anything. But like that functionality of what just happened is what I want in Gaea. And the snappiness. I mean, this is 8K, and we got there just like this, no pauses basically. So we might pause it there. The little one is out, which is good. But I think we're gonna pause it there. I mean, we discovered a couple of things. The easy answer for Gaea is not there. I think that the best option, I think, so far for a foreground is just you have to do it separately, like almost completely separately. I will let you guys know if I find out anything more about that. But yeah, that transform node, which I think is the only node that I found that would give us like that option. There is some stuff down. If you go into the build node and you go all the way down here to terrain definition, you can play with the height and the scale of the terrain. And I played around with that for like an hour. It did not help me get the results that I wanted in any meaningful way. All I can say is I played around with it. It did change some things. It didn't give me anything helpy. Anything, you know, useful or like that I'm like, oh, this could do what I want it to do. Quadspinner, Gaea just does not care about actual units of scale at all, is what I took from it. Okay, so guys, I've suffered today in Gaea so that you guys don't have to, hopefully. Let's see here. Michaela, that's a great question. We didn't get it. Maybe we still have a lot of people that are undecided, and I can understand why people will be undecided, Michaela, because it is it's a tough one, right? Like there are some things that are amazing in Gaea, and then there's some things that are really, really bad, and then the same tools in World Creator, the things that I really like in Gaea are missing in World Creator, but then everything that I'm mad at Gaea about, World Creator does really, really well. Like, if they could take the best of both, that would be the perfect terrain generator. Right now, you really have to make a decision on your priorities. All right, folks, that is it for today. I am going to get back to real work. We have some big news tomorrow. I'll post about it roughly, and then we'll be talking about it tomorrow. So I hope to see you guys then. Same time as always. Until that time, thank you for being here and hanging out and suffering through Gaea with me. Michaela, yes. One can hope, with everything else falling apart in the world right now, if World Creator and Gaea could give us a little merge of solace, that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing, I think, for all of us. But guys, be well. It's great seeing you all. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a big one. But we will talk to you then. Until then, be kind to one another. Be well, and cheers, beeps, and boops coming up. All right, let's do this thing. Beep. See, they're all the way over here, so I have to look away from the camera. We're just going to move it over, and then last time I missed this one. Boo!